And we're live. You're listening to the Hashgraph Enthusiast Show.
Hosted by Brandon Davenport, aka It's Brandon D.
Well, another week in Hedera, HBAR, Hashgraph, all that good stuff. All that stuff. Interesting show today. We definitely saw some activity in the ecosystem, if you will, this morning, or I guess maybe overnight or something for some people. Pretty crazy stuff. I got an email in my inbox about a initiative from Hedera, and it turned out to not be true. It turned out to be a hack. Hedera put out a tweet or a X or a Zeet or whatever we want to call it now. Marketing at Hedera email has been compromised. They don't open any emails. So it's basically an email went to everybody, and then they put out another email to ignore any links in the other email. But I don't know how sophisticated it was, or how extensive it was. I think that we're kind of waiting on a kind of a breakdown from Hedera on that. But I just wanted to kind of let people know at the start of the show that if you do see an email in your inbox from Hedera about I think they called it the Hedera DeFi suite or something like that. Basically the email would take you to a fake Hedera website, and it was asking you to enter your wallet and all that kind of stuff. Very unfortunate. Apparently people are saying that it was Hedera's HubSpot account that was compromised. So as far as I know, I don't know if the actual systems or whatever were compromised. It seems like just a HubSpot account that was connected to send marketing emails may have been compromised. So, but again, we don't know. It's just kind of what I've heard. But yeah, it's unfortunate. It's not good for the Hedera brand, being the trust layer of the internet. But I mean, we see this all the time in Web3. So many people and so many networks get, hacked or socially engineered. To be honest, a lot of the time it just comes down to people not using two-factor authentication. That's what it comes down to. And I will say this, especially to the executives out there, because I know, you guys are notorious for this, but use two-factor authentication on your accounts, for God's sake. You've got the Google authenticator app, all that kind of stuff. Don't use email for your two-factor authentication. Don't use text message for your two-factor authentication. Do it properly. The general rule of thumb is the harder it is to log into the website, the more secure your login is. And I know it's a pain, but please do it, because these are you can have these really sophisticated kind of attacks, but sometimes it just boils down to social engineering, and sometimes social engineering is literally just, messing around with somebody. Yeah. Multi-factor authentication. I think it's a new thing for some people, but yeah. If you have an organization and anyone connected to your accounts or your executives or whatever are not using that, you're not going to make it. You're going to have all sorts of problems. And just being honest, executives are notorious for this. So please take this as a lesson. And I mean, it's just important to highlight in Hedera, if this is the secure network, we really got to make sure that is the case. But I wanted to maybe say to people, we don't know exactly what this is about yet. My assumption is it's something relatively simple. Seems a HubSpot. HubSpot is just a marketing tool, so I don't think it's super extensive, but again, stay vigilant, but not blowing stuff out of proportion. HBAR Daily Show, appreciate it. thank you. Shout out. IPEX, appreciate you. Yeah, we had IPEX on last episode. It was great to touch base. Multi-factor authentication. Okay, time for a bit of a lesson. So basically, multi-factor authentication is like when you sign into a website. Here, let me try to pull up a little bit of a piece here. Multi-factor authentication. So as we consult with Google here, multi-factor authentication. It's a multi-step account login process that requires users to enter one or more information than just a password. So like when you go to sign in, right? And you go to the website and it says, give us your email, give us your password to log in. Before you can access the website, what it requires you to do is then say, enter a secret code that only you know to continue logging in. So that code ideally is stored offline on a device using like an authenticator app, like the Google Authenticator app or something. It's basically usually a 6-digit number that refreshes. So what that means is you can only log into my account if you have my phone and have access to that code that changes every 60 seconds. Other methods are like logging into GitHub. The GitHub app gives you a code. But the idea here is that you need multiple devices, multiple ways to access your account. So if someone got my username and someone got my password to my email and tried to log in, they would still have to get my phone to get the code to log in. And so this is where the problem lies, is if you are not using that and someone gets your username or password, they're good to go. And that's where most of these scams come from. If a Discord gets hacked or if an email gets hacked or whatever it is, most of the time, I would say probably all the time, it's because they don't have multi-factor authentication. And you know, that's basically the quick lesson on that. 6-figure crypto, shout out, appreciate you. Yeah, so that's a little refresher on multi-factor authentication, but I think the most important thing here is just in general in Web3, like that's like multi-factor authentication is a Web 2 thing, kind of like encompasses so much of what we do. But when we talk about specifically Web3 and kind of specifically like what this, you know, hack or whatever it is that happened this morning with Hedera, the real issue is when you get that email, the purpose of it is to have you go to a website that looks exactly like Hedera. And when you go to the website, then you click a link and it asks you to, you know, enter your seed phrase or do those types of things. And this is like, you need to remember this. If anything asks you to give your seed phrase or private key at all, never, ever, ever do it. And this goes for even legitimate stuff. Like if HashPack asks it, if anybody asks it, do not do it. Take a minute, step back and ask. Right. So for example, I'll give you a concrete example. Let's say you're on Kabila's website or Blade's website or HashPack's website or whatever it might be. And you're asked to enter your private key. Take a minute, step back, go to official support and ask them and say, hey, here's what I'm doing. Is this right? And most of the time they'll say, hey, yeah, it's the official website. You're just adding your wallet. Here's the steps, tips to make sure you're secure. But you can never be too careful. You just really can't. And a telltale sign is about intention, right? So if you have the intention to set up your wallet or do something, you're usually okay. You usually understand what you're doing. But if you're in the headspace where that's not your intention and you're just presented with it like, oh, enter your keys, exit, get out of there, right? If it's being put on you and you didn't expect it, get out of there, exit, right? Don't do anything. Also too, especially if you're made to feel rushed or if there's a sense of urgency. Again, like if you're ever in a situation connecting to an application or a wallet or anything like that, and you feel like pressured or rushed or something like that, that's the last thing any of those products are going to want you to feel. That's the last thing Hedera is going to want you to feel. So general rule of thumb, never, ever, 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 ever enter your keys for any reason ever at all. Always be incredibly careful. And yes, I know that sometimes to get access to your stuff on a new wallet, you do have to enter your private key or seed phrase, but just be careful. That's why these applications have support, but just understand the risks, because if someone gets those keys, and it's very, very easy to get them, right? Like just a quick example on Apple products. If you copy and paste something, like there's a great feature where if I copy something on my iPhone, I can paste it on my Mac, but that means it's floating up around in there somewhere. So there's so many different attack vectors, even having your key on your computer or in 1Password or whatever it might be. Like there's just always is going to be risk. So just keep that in mind, because if someone gets your key, it's over. Nothing you can do. So just really, really keep that in mind. Loving the comments. Keep them coming. Love to hear all the news. Share any cool updates that you have with me. It's episode 131. It is June 26th. Hashgraph enthusiasts. We're rocking and rolling. And there was a problem today. The problem is I was excited. A couple episodes ago, I had Tom on from PixFi. We were talking about the ecosystem. The mint for the PixFi, like early founders token is right now, and I'm doing my show. So I'm going to see if I can log in and do this mint real quick. Let me see here. I'll throw on the music again. And we got a lot of good stuff to talk about today too. So yeah, even this right here, when I'm logging into PixFi, I've got a code. I'm gonna log in. Let me know if anyone else is doing the PixFi mint. This is not, again, to be clear, this is not an endorsement of PixFi. I'm just doing a mint because I'm excited about retail and the ecosystem growing. Like when we had Tom on the show, he was talking about NFT-fi and like all the cool things that are coming, and borrowing and lending with NFTs and all these different types of things. And the multi-chain component, like the mint right now, you're going to be able to, you're going to be able to purchase in USDC. You're going to be able to purchase in all sorts of different coins, not just HBAR. So I'm literally going to go and I'm going to buy some PixFi tokens right now. I'm going to purchase, of course, the Hedera edition. I'm selecting HBAR as my currency. I'm not sharing my screen because, again, I don't, my wallet. Well, actually, I can share my screen right now until my wallet pops up. So I'm just purchasing the stuff here. I'm going to select my wallet, HashPack. I'm going to buy one of these. I guess I can't purchase multiple at the same time, but now I'll hide my screen, and I'll do the purchase. So let's see here. Let me see here. Oh. I've never minted an NFT live on the show before. It's rare that a mint will happen right as the show's live. So a little bit selfish on my end. Yo, Bones, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. I'm just purchasing myself some NFTs right now. So, okay. So I've purchased one. I'm going to continue shopping. This is a pretty slick setup. PixFi has right here. Yes, we're all getting PixFi this morning. I think I'm going to get another. I'm going to do another Hedera one, and then I will do. Maybe I'll do one of the other ones too. But I mean, it'd be crazy if I didn't do a couple Hedera ones. So, excuse me. Jeez, Murphy. And they have support for a bunch of other wallets too. Like they're supporting MetaMask and Phantom Wallet, all sorts of different things. So this is a truly it is so good to see, these multi-chain mints, which I love. So let's see here. I'm going to grab one more of the Hedera ones. Who else is minting PixFi? Why are you buying them? Well, the first reason I'm buying them is because there's some cool stuff happening on Hedera. Like we had the HashPack INO, we had the Bonzo Finance INO, we had we had a SaucerSwap INO. Kabila is going to be doing their thing. Like there's so many projects right now that are doing these offerings, and that's the first reason I'm buying them, is just to support the projects. Like I put out a tweet the other day that like I'm buying NFTs here, and that includes like art, that includes music, that includes all sorts of different things, because it's the rule. It's like buy low, sell high. Everyone's like, oh, NFTs are dead. Everything's dead in the water. So that's the buy signal for me, especially if you do have a high conviction in the Hedera ecosystem, in the creators, in the Hedera ecosystem. That it's just, that's a really important, thing to keep in mind. So now I'm just going to do one more of these. I'm going to grab the Solana one out of respect. Solana put out something pretty cool. They put out something pretty cool we'll talk about on the show. That I think will be great for Hedera to kind of take a look at and copy. Great. Okay. So I've got my PixFi NFTs supporting the ecosystem. Same thing. And again, this is the same thing as I did with, Bonzo Finance, HashPack token. I have so many different founders tokens, INOs, all these different things. And that's what this is about. Like, what this is all about is like the future of business, the future of startups. A lot of people talk about exit strategies and how startups, generate funding and stuff like that. And it's like, we have projects in the Hedera ecosystem that are raising millions of dollars from the community to build. And that it's kind of cool, because if you think about it in a startup context, commonly to invest in a startup, you have to have access, where this is the beautiful thing about crypto and Web3. Everyone has access, right? That's the beautiful thing. So I've got access. I've just invested, and I've got my NFTs, and NFTs can be art for sure, but more commonly these days, NFTs serve all sorts of different purposes. It's tokenizing a community. It is allowing people to access different utilities. And a lot of these NFTs aren't one-off things. They're used over and over and over and over again for different things. So it's kind of like if you think about going to a concert, you get your ticket, and then you use your ticket, you've gone to the concert, and then you have like a useless ticket stub. Well, sometimes people go on eBay and they sell those ticket stubs to these like well-known shows or famous moments in history for like thousands of dollars or whatever. And it's like these ticket stubs that we have, they can be used again for all sorts of different things. So think of it that way. NFTs are art and all that kind of stuff, but they're also so much more. And giraffes as well. A giraffe can be an NFT, and an NFT can be a giraffe. This is the future. This is where we're at. Okay, what else are we talking about today? Let's jump into some ecosystem updates, and shout out to the HashBAR, the PixFi team. That's amazing to see. A very, very exciting update that I was elated to see. This has been a big problem for people getting access to HBAR. We know that, hey, it's great that, HBAR is available on Coinbase and all these different types of things, but in a weird way, accessing HBAR and different assets in New York for some reason was very difficult. And this is something I've heard commonly, is there are a lot of people that are HBAR-barians that are located in New York, and it's been tough to get HBAR. And these are for all sorts of different purposes, but Coinbase Assets announced that for New York users, they're now going to be able to purchase Render, HBAR, and other assets And this is fantastic and exciting for, there's my tweet, and exciting for the ecosystem. This is something we've been talking about. These are baby steps towards getting Hedera to be more accessible to more people. Obviously, New York is an important place, but there's still more work to be done. I'd encourage people to go back and listen to the past 2 episodes on that, because there's a lot of different fascinating stuff shared. That I encourage people to go check out. Also, leave a comment if you're watching. What is the top stories that you've been seeing, and we'll talk about them. Also, too, this was really great. SaucerSwap integrated WalletConnect recently, which was just added. And this is really great because what this allows for is a more seamless way to access SaucerSwap using different Hedera wallets, right? Like HashPack, Blade, Kabila, but also wallets outside of the Hedera ecosystem. SaucerSwap also supports MetaMask. So like the number one DEX on Hedera is now more accessible than ever for people. And it's been really great being a part of the Hedera WalletConnect initiative through Hgraph. That's been an ongoing journey working collaboratively with DEXs and wallets. And I think that, some exciting stuff is coming, but some hard work's being done. And, I'm working away on stuff behind the scenes and having some important convos. So hoping to have more of these kind of cool updates for WalletConnect. But shout out to the SaucerSwap team. And that's just incredible. This is also something that I'm very, very excited about. And I mean, we've talked everybody's ear off about this. And Brandon, the HBAR Bull, has done an incredible job of covering this. I had the pleasure of meeting these guys last year, but Neuron is now live in the USA in beta. And this is incredibly exciting because Neuron is developing this protocol that is connecting everything. And what I mean by that is right now, you can track flights and different things, but you think of like a delivery app, you think of the weather, you think of all of these different trackable, traceable data points that you want to capture. And the sensors or devices or endpoints required to get that information. And so Neuron has done a really incredible job over the past few years of laying this out, securing funding to do that. And now going live. And what this means is that there is now a live protocol in beta that is feeding data through, giving people access to real-time data in a decentralized way. Like these are people that literally had sensors shipped to their homes and set them up on their roofs and are feeding data into this protocol. And as Neuron has said, if for some reason Neuron were to disappear or go out of business or whatever it might be, this protocol kind of lives on. That's the goal of it. It's supposed to be another layer, and it's leveraging Hedera. And when you really think about how these events and pieces of information are logged on the Hashgraph, and how much data there is, you start to think about the transactions and what that could mean. And again, we've talked about this on the show extensively, so make sure to go back and listen to that. Again, Brandon, the HBAR Bull, has done an incredible job of hammering this story. And on his recent episode, he actually highlighted quite a few things from it. But the news here is this thing we've been talking about forever is now live. And it's just, again, it's amazing to see. And I'm just looking here in the Reddit comments, and yeah, I think this is truly a champion story. I think there's a lot of FUD around this early on, and there's just a sense of like, this is an incredible use case that's live right now, and really pulled through. So, I mean, huge shout out to the Neuron team. And it's really, really, really exciting. Give us Grelf. Well, hey, if Grelf or anyone else wants to call in, I haven't been planning any guests stopping by. Usually, like most people, just call in and have good chats. It's funny too, like the last few conversations I've had with Jake and also Grelf on the show, like people have really, really enjoyed that. I think that the live nature of this show and now it being video and not just the Twitter Spaces, it's definitely changed how I do things and how I talk about the news and how I have conversations with people, which I think is really great. The clips are good. People love the clips and everything. So yeah, if Grelf or anyone else wants to call in, feel free to call in. another update that was kind of cool to see is, again, a story that's kind of ongoing that we've been talking about quite a bit. I had John Wingate on the show recently, but BankSocial launches real-time payment service integrating credit unions with the real-time payment network. So this is right in line with what BankSocial has been talking about, and more generally what kind of the crypto ecosystem has been talking about, which is this push and pull between taking decentralized crypto assets and packaging them in traditional finance packages, right? Like an ETF or different things like that. And then also taking traditional assets and packaging them in crypto form, right? Like we've seen with Arcax, tokenizing BlackRock funds and funds from Aberdeen, money market funds on Hedera and other networks too. So there's this kind of push and pull between those two things. And in the middle of that is the actual infrastructure and the rails of payments. So not just baskets of assets, but actual how payments are done. And, if you've been following along with the BankSocial story, BankSocial is definitely, from the Hedera purview, is at the forefront of that. And so it's been an interesting project to watch kind of unfold, and some good conversations with John Wingate. And I think it's one of those projects that, from a Web3 sense, from like a Web3 native sense, I don't think will kind of land yet. It's approaching it from kind of the other side, right? It's credit unions. It's building new tools for customers. It's kind of what Leemon would talk about when he's like, people are going to use Hedera and they're not even going to realize they're using it. This is kind of one of those things where if you have your bank app and you're looking at it, you've got your currency, your car loan, your mortgage, and your checking account, saving account, you got your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your this, your that. And then it's like, oh, and my loans are NFTs. And so that's what we talk about when we talk about tokenization. Is these are those first initial baby steps. So shout out to BankSocial. They're on that. Also too, talking about, these real world assets, RWAs are kind of all the rage. And something that I think Hedera and this ecosystem has really been championing for a long time, but I think has gone out of the forefront a bit, but I think is going to have some surprises for people, is the ESG stuff, the carbon offset stuff. And I know we talk about the Guardian and we talk about all sorts of different things in the Hedera ecosystem, but one project that has been around since before Hedera existed and has pivoted in so many kind of interesting and surprising ways is DOVU. And DOVU has recently announced that they have a new Hedera improvement proposal. And if approved, it will enable us to place these NFTs on existing marketplaces like CentX, so they can be traded by projects and individuals. So this is really big. And I want to just unpack this for a second, because I want this to really kind of hit people. I'm not going to talk your ear off again about the carbon offset stuff. I mean, we know that companies like Microsoft have stated there aren't enough quality carbon credits in the market for them to offset their carbon. There just isn't enough. And the carbon offset market is just so full of greenwashing and BS. It really is kind of a shady, dirty market. And what projects like the Guardian or DOVU and leveraging Hedera is, what they're focused on is bringing transparency, bringing trust to that business that has a huge demand. There just is not the supply. And so what DOVU has been focusing on is kind of nurturing that supply side, making it easy for all of these ecological projects like farmers or whatever it might be to issue those carbon credits, inject that supply for the market, and then match that with buyers. And so if we look at this market, it is going to be a massive market. I mean, the numbers have been shared over and over and over again. It's something we've been talking about in Hedera for years. But what makes this really interesting is that when you really kind of pull back on this, you go, okay, well, what are we actually talking about here? Carbon offset credits, the new age of digital carbon offsets. What are these on Hedera? These are NFTs on Hedera. And a good example to kind of articulate what DOVU's hitting on here about, where CentX comes into this is, and I've had Matt, the CTO of DOVU, on the show a few times, and always a, mind-blowing conversation. But one of the things that we touched on that relates to this is, if you look at the solution and the initiative they have right now with India, India has an initiative, and the government of India has an initiative where they want to take millions of internal combustion engine cars and get rid of those and introduce more EVs into the market. And how you do that is through a carbon offset initiative. We know this through seeing the growth of Tesla, and we also see the issues with this in this kind of opaque, shady market. Well, what DOVU is doing is by issuing these as NFTs on the immutable Hashgraph, what's happening is someone in India can take their internal combustion car, they can get a carbon credit from the government for that, and then they can take that carbon credit and they can use it to put towards a new vehicle. And so that's really exciting. And what makes it even more exciting, and again, where kind of these NFT marketplaces come into it, is that more generally, if you have these carbon credits floating around and you have them for sale on the DOVU marketplace, let's say, you really think of that as like an NFT launch pad, right? Like an NFT drop. It's like this farm or this government or whatever has issued X amount of carbon credits. They're up for sale. And you can view it as almost like an NFT drop, because if you purchase those carbon credits as NFTs and then you can list them on CentX, it really starts to bring a whole new way of looking at utility for NFTs. And when you really open it up even bigger, you realize that, oh, the buyer of this NFT that I bought on the secondary marketplace is maybe not going to be just another collector or another HBAR barbarian. If I hold this thing, it might end up being, Microsoft or a car company or somebody that wants to reach into that supply. And that's where we have the ability to have that price discovery for these assets. So long, short, this HIP, it creates a situation where, folks can get in early on these drops of carbon credits as NFTs and have that supply. And there are enterprises and all sorts of other entities out there that want that supply or will want that supply of carbon offset credit. They've made that clear. And some folks might have those and they might be, an attractive asset to companies. So it kind of flips your brain a bit to go, oh, these NFTs that I buy in the future, the buyer of those NFTs, if I sell them, might be, a Fortune 500, might be somebody on the governing council that wants to take that carbon credit and sequester it or exchange it or burn it or whatever for the purposes of offsetting their carbon. So that's really cool. And that's what this HIP is about from DOVU, is kind of creating that next step in this. And to be honest, like empowering the Hedera community to kind of get in early on this stuff. I mean, the bottom line is, people will get rich on the tokenized carbon offset space. It's a huge business. It's a nasty business. And this new technology is going to make it brand new. And a lot of companies are very excited about that. And a lot of companies are doing this currently. And Hedera is the best technology to do that. So that's very exciting. Not financial advice. I know I said people will get rich, but I mean, you get what I'm saying. When these new paradigm shifts happen, whoopsie, people end up making a lot of money. And this time around, because it's not a shady business, we got a fighting chance, so I think it's a good thing. Yes, the dog is taking a nap. She is napping. Georgia is napping. Sometimes the droning on about technical Hedera things puts her to sleep, but her ears perk up when I talk about NFTs and stuff like that. So I think she knows what's going on. Okay, so what else is going on? Oh, this was really cool. I'm digging Hashnals. I like if anyone's been keeping up with the Hashnal stuff, it's about writing files to the Hashgraph itself through sequential HCS messages and all that kind of stuff. I've had patches on the show. We've talked about it at length. A lot of people are aware of Hashnals now. This is just kind of a quick, plug, shameless promotion. This was so good to see. There's the Defiants project from NFTier and Cantor, and there's actually now a Hashgraph enthusiast trait for this project, you can see the little button there. There's my face. And the saying that I say at the end of each episode, hello future, goodbye past. Super cool. I mean, it's kind of crazy to see this show kind of immortalized as an NFT in a way. So that was really, really cool. Also too, just on the security front, I know at the beginning of the show, we were talking about like this stuff going on with Hedera with their marketing email and that issue and everything like that. This was actually really, really interesting to see. So a big problem in the ecosystem has been, for example, in a wallet like HashPack, you'll get these little tiny HBAR transfers that include malicious memos, right? So you'll get, basically how it works is a scammer or whomever will say, I'm going to send these 50,000 wallets. I'm going to send them 0.0001 HBAR, tiny little amounts. I'm going to send it all to them, but I'm going to include a link in the memo that says, hey, there's an airdrop, or go to this website and get your 5,000 HBAR or whatever it is. And unfortunately, people will see that as like, oh, it's an official promotion, and, have a bunch of their assets stolen essentially. So HashPack has put in, this transaction memo contains a URL, which might be malicious, those different types of things, but it's very annoying and everything like that. So this is really cool. CTO of HashPack, Pluto, responded to this just, hours ago. And he says, this is in the next patch. So what it sounds like is this problem is going to get a lot easier to deal with in the next patch of HashPack, which I really appreciate, because now more than ever, we really, really need to focus on security, and clearly, Hedera does as well. And I think it's just a time to take that as a signal as individuals, as investors ourselves, to really take a look and kind of go, what are my security practices? Where are my private keys? What is my plan for if this or that happens? Because the reality is, like, a lot of people have a lot of money tied up in this stuff. So you don't want to be messing around at all. Also too, this was cool to see, but again, really raises the sense of urgency for these types of things for Hedera. So the Algorand Foundation announced that USDC on Algorand is live on Coinbase. And kind of what does this mean? So as we know, there is USDC minted on all sorts of other networks. And we know that there's, people call it hUSDC on Hedera. And very similar to Algorand, they have their own version of USDC. But the USDC that's on Hedera, again, isn't very accessible. When we talk about, Hedera assets on Coinbase or on this, exchange or that exchange or this exchange, we're usually talking about HBAR. We're not really talking about any other token. And it's been amazing to see other HTS tokens like PAC and Sauce and Grelf starting to get listed on centralized exchanges. That's very, very important. But what's arguably just as important is USDC, right? The liquidity of USDC is very small on Hedera, and as we talked about in previous episodes, that's a big thing that enterprise wants. They want TVL, they want liquidity, they want that kind of stuff, and it's just not accessible for people on Hedera now. So you can't buy Hedera USDC on Coinbase, and now you can buy Algorands. And so this is, again, another signal to the ecosystem that, hey, now is really the time to take this seriously and start thinking about, of course, getting these Hedera native assets like hUSDC on these other exchanges, but more importantly than that, on the DeFi side as well, right? How great would it be if hUSDC or if HBAR or if Sauce or if DOVU or if HSuite or whatever it is, if those native HTS assets were also just natively available on DEXs elsewhere across crypto, that would also be great. So I think that's a big talking point in the ecosystem for people right now, which is, we need this stuff to be accessible. And the numbers show that. There's a direct correlation between the price of a token and the total value locked of a token and the market cap of a token. There's a direct correlation between those things and the amount of exchanges that it's listed in, right? So the market cap and TVL of HBAR is lower because HBAR is listed in less places than other assets. There's less HBAR pairs. And that's really the key thing you can't get around. So that's been a big topic for folks in this ecosystem, is that accessibility for HBAR. That has been a really, really, really big thing. This was also very cool to see. This is another post here from Hedera. So Hedera posts on X, "We are excited to support the Linux Foundation's intent to form Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust, which will encompass the growing portfolio of Hyperledger projects and support a rapidly growing decentralized technology landscape." And this was really, really, really good to see, because the Linux Foundation is like very important in the open source software development world, of course. And in the article that was shared, so is this the link to the article? No, it's just an image. Oh, there it is. So there's this article, the Linux Foundation, right? Big deal, right? This is the real deal here. And there's these quotes from different leaders. And if I search Charles Aikens, oh, there we go. Charles, the president of Hedera, says, "As longstanding contributors to the Linux Foundation and Hyperledger, Hedera is excited about the launch of LF Decentralized Trust, which is broader and more inclusive, firmly supporting the foundation of open source, transparency, and meritocracy. We are united in our commitment to fostering the adoption of decentralized technologies. We applaud the efforts of the Linux Foundation to form the Decentralized Trust Project and look forward to driving more engagement from our own ecosystem." So when this news came out, immediately, again, a few things come to mind for folks in the ecosystem, which is, okay, when you look at the Linux Foundation and you look at how they're formed and how they operate, you start to look at Hedera and some of the issues we've been talking about over the last few weeks, and you start to go, well, there's a really interesting model for this kind of stuff. Could Hedera be more similar to the Linux Foundation? Could that kind of open source, transparent approach and structure, could that in turn be applied to the Hedera ecosystem itself? And that's also an interesting thing. So all in all, it's great to see Hedera involved in that. And I'm hoping that through Hedera's involvement with the Linux Foundation in this way, I hope that starts to really rub off on our ecosystem. And I've had conversations with a few people at Swirlds, and Andrew Aikens. Andrew Aikens is the Chief Open Source Officer at Swirlds Labs, really kind of spearheading some of the open source initiatives as well. And, it's really good to see that kind of stuff. I met him in Denver recently, or not recently. Geez, time flies. I met him in Denver in February, and had a quick chat. But yeah, I think that it's great to see the open source conversation front and center with Hedera, because like what we're really talking about when we talk about like the change that we want to see in Hedera and the broader ecosystem is a lot of that is the ethos of open source software development, foundations, all those different types of things. So again, good to see. And I hope that kind of rubs off on our network. We got a noob question from Smoothie Sabuti. That's a great username on YouTube watching. What's the difference between default USDC and hashport USDC on SaucerSwap? Great question. So a few quick clarifications, and I'll expand on something here. So USDC, right, is from Circle, right? Circle is, I'll just pull up their website here just for any other noobs. And again, it's like, this isn't a noob question. A lot of this stuff even goes over my head sometimes. So don't feel like you're a beginner or anything like that. We're all if we all say we're early, we're all beginners. So Circle is a company that issues all sorts of digital assets, USDC. And so USDC is a, US dollar backed stable coin. That's very important. And, the distinction between like, vanilla USDC and hUSDC is taking a bit of a step back. So the hUSDC doesn't stand for hashport. It stands for kind of like Hedera. And basically when you see hUSDC on SaucerSwap, what you're seeing is the allocation that Circle has taken and minted directly on Hedera. I think they've minted 200 million or whatever it is of USDC on Hedera Hashgraph. And so that is USDC that's native to Hedera. That means that it's an HTS token that shares all the same properties as, again, like HBAR, sauce, like whatever you want to call it. So that's the difference. But then on SaucerSwap, you might also see another USDC, a wrapped USDC. And that's weird because what that entails is the native USDC on the Ethereum being ported over to Hedera and wrapped on Hedera. So that's already where the fragmentation comes in, where you have multiple different USDCs on Hedera. You've got kind of the kind of non-Hedera native USDC that's arrived through Hashport into Hedera, but then you also have the native USDC on Hedera that's minted here that could be bridged over the other way. So you do have these fragmented approaches to USDC. And furthermore, on other networks, you might have, Algorand USDC or Solana USDC or wherever it might be. And that's a key thing that Circle has been working to remedy through a program. I believe it's called CCIP. Yeah, the Cross-Chain Transfer Protocol. And so what this is exactly kind of the issue we're talking about, which is Circle went, well, what if we didn't have a bunch of different USDC coins minted across different networks that was all fragmented? What if it was something that was natively interoperable, right? What if we had one single USDC that could kind of float between all the different networks? And that, I think, is a big thing that we're working towards. And there's many folks in Hedera that are advocates for this approach and kind of saying like, let's not focus on hUSDC. Let's not focus on the USDC that's minted natively on Hedera. Let's focus on getting Hedera involved in this CCTP protocol, right? That's really what we're focused on because that's that kind of layer up. And so it kind of speaks to a theme that we see in crypto a lot, which is fragmentation. WalletConnect is another where we've got all these different SDKs from different wallets, and all these different ways to do things. And so it's difficult for dApps to integrate all the wallets. So if you can take that and use a shared standard like WalletConnect, then it becomes a lot easier and anyone can integrate anywhere and it's interoperable. So this is kind of the same methodology of like, we got all these random USDCs everywhere. Circle goes, well, hold on a minute. What if we came up with a new interoperable USDC that was kind of in one place? So that, if that answers your question, that's kind of like why there's so many different ones. That's why you see kind of two USDCs on SaucerSwap. They're the same thing. They're just packaged differently and they're a little bit fragmented, but it is what it is. And I think that the short-term solution is just let's get more liquidity, more stable coin liquidity on Hedera ASAP, whatever that looks like. But the long-term solution is that I think a lot of other networks are working towards is, well, what can we do to consolidate this stuff, get rid of this fragmentation, and just have more of a seamless approach to this stuff. So appreciate the questions. Keep the questions coming. If you got any cool news, if there's any projects out there that are working on cool stuff, keep it coming. Love to talk about the news. If there's any cool retail projects or anything's coming up in the calendar, share it. I'd love to talk about it. So let's continue talking about some other cool stuff. Something else that came out, and I guess just on this topic, because this is, I think, a really interesting one for people to get on their radar, especially for HBAR barbarians that, that maybe are in a little bit of a bubble, which is understandable. There's so much information to take in. But I saw a comment here from Skelly Bets, Hedera Hashgraph. Hey man, check us out. Bringing the fun to Hedera. Skelly Bets. What's going on with Skelly Bets? Let's see. I'll have to find it on X or something. Shoot me a DM or something. So this was something that I think a lot of people should take a look at. So Solana recently announced Blinks, blockchain links. And this is huge because it kind of extends the functionality of the Solana network out to all sorts of different apps. So it's similar to how you'd share a link on X or a social media platform, and then you'd have like an embed for like a YouTube video or an article. Maybe there's some kind of interactive component. These links will allow people from Twitter or whatever it is to just start buying stuff, trading stuff inside of their environment. And this is huge because this is what we're talking about, is bringing this technology to the masses. This is what it looks like. This is how we make it easy. And you can see in the video that Solana put out across all these different websites, Discord, X, those different types of things. It's a set of APIs and actions in the network that just allow your dApps to be extended to people wherever they are. And it's an incredibly powerful thing. And I think that as it stands in Hedera, the response from the Hedera ecosystem in this, and I think many other ecosystems, is we need something like this. This is like a blueprint for mass adoption. And if you really imagine this, let me give you an example. Imagine if, a marketplace like Centex or something for NFTs, just in that context, or a DEX like SaucerSwap or HSuite or whatever. If you could just post a link to buy an NFT from the Launchpad, or buy a specific token or whatever it might be, to X, and just have the button right there. People are scrolling through their feed. They're like, oh yeah, I want that. They click it, approve the transaction right from their application, like Discord or whatever it is. It's reaching out. It's removing those layers. And I think honestly, from a UI UX standpoint, I think Solana really knocked it out of the park. And of course, there's going to be debates about like whether it's centralized or how stable it is, like whatever it is. I know people rag on Solana a lot, including myself. You just have to, round of applause for the Solana network on this. I mean, it's from a usability standpoint, it's massive. There's a fighter jet flying over my house right now. I don't know why, but we will keep the broadcast going. I do live in Ottawa, so it's a government city. So who knows? Maybe some tests are going on. I don't know. But yeah, shout out to Solana. And I'd encourage anybody to go check that out and just kind of wrap your head around that like, okay, this is a thing that's happening. This is how we extend the usability of these products to people in a kind of an easy way. I think we need something like this on Hedera 100%. Also, too, there was an article published. Now, and this kind of blew my mind a little bit, and there's a little nuance, but this is an article that was published by a CoinTelegraph reporter in Crypto News. The website's called Crypto News. And for folks unfamiliar, there's been a lot of, especially with the BlackRock stuff, there's been a lot of animosity between, CoinTelegraph and the Hedera community for whatever reason. I think a lot of people have a problem with CoinTelegraph sometimes. And for whatever reason, there's FUD or there's whatever. I think that and it just extends beyond Hedera or Web3 to just technology in general. The technology press is like not fantastic. There's definitely a lot of deals done and stuff like that. But regardless, it was great to see this article that featured Charles Atkins, the president of Hedera, talking about real world assets, And I responded to the tweet because I just think that this excerpt from it really reflected kind of Charles like really nailing the real value proposition of real world assets. And so Charles says, quote, benefits of tokenization include enhanced liquidity, transparency, and efficiency. Tokenized real world assets such as stocks, bonds, and commodities represent a significant advancement for the Web3 sector. To put this into perspective, Atkins explained that UK global investment company and asset manager Aberdeen has begun utilizing Hedera's tokenization service. According to Atkins, Aberdeen has tokenized a portion of its 20 billion plus money market fund on Hedera. So that's, part of this stuff we're talking about of, there are a substantial amount of tokenized money market funds on Hedera now from multiple providers. Money market funds are low-risk investment vehicles that offer investors a return with interest rates. Atkins noted that when money market funds release cash to investors, the cash must be reimbursed to achieve the equivalent annual percentage return. Yet this can place an administrative burden on investors. Tokenizing these assets can help solve this pain point. By tokenizing money market funds on Hedera, Aberdeen enables same-day payments and automated income reinvestment, significantly enhancing liquidity and operational efficiency in the process. And there's all sorts of other crazy things that we've seen about money market funds of like, well, what if money market funds also operated as almost kind of like a stable coin? Or that you would purchase, what if I purchased an NFT on Centex with my money market fund with a little piece of it? Like so many different crazy things come to mind. So that's very exciting. But what was cool is I just responded to this, and the CoinTelegraph editor responded and said, "True." So nature's healing a little bit. I think that we're starting to see some progress in the relationship that Hedera has with some of these major, crypto outlets that I think in the past has, I think not given Hedera a fair shake, which is, I think, a common experience for a lot of, newer networks in the space that aren't, the big 5 or the big 10. Because the reality is that, a crypto news outlet is probably going to favor most the asset that their owners are most invested in. I mean, it's a weird space. In the technology space too, but it's good to see. So it shows that there's a strategy at Hedera in regards to that, and that's good to see. So nature's healing. Let me see here. We got some. I'm going to play some videos real quick, and a shout out to supporters of the show. I've been talking about. The show's growing. It's getting better and better. We're getting some good guests. And we're talking about a lot of good news and a lot of bad news, but we're working through it. The last couple episodes have been like totally dynamite. So I'm happy to have more of a news focused episode this week, but, it's all made possible by listeners of the show. You guys sending HBAR. I'm not going to plug I haven't really been plugging the wallet right now. I mean, everyone's pretty tapped out, and I've got enough. I've received enough HBAR from the community to purchase all this equipment. I'm doing a bunch of stuff. So I'm in a phase right now where I'm kind of growing a little bit more of the show, getting it to that next phase. And then, I think that, I don't want to force it right now. So, but that's how it works. Supporting the show is people send HBAR to a wallet and I sell the HBAR and buy stuff for the show. So that's how it's grown. It's not grown just by myself. I couldn't do it without the community. I'd still be on Twitter Spaces or Clubhouse with my iPod earphones, talking. So thank you, everybody. Let's dive into a couple clips here. And so these clips right here are, I think, really important. There's 3. And they're all related. And I wanted to just kind of, circle around to these because the last couple episodes of the show, we've been talking a lot about problems in the ecosystem, shortcomings, all these different types of things. And this episode, this week, find the signal in the noise. What I'm really trying to do right now is, again, find that signal. Because there's a lot of noise out there right now, in all aspects. And I think that we can see that across the industry, and we can even see that with, in the technology industry, especially with AI and different things that, like, I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I scroll through my feed on X or LinkedIn or whatever it is, and I'm just like overwhelmed. I don't even know what's going on. I feel like 1 minute the world's ending. I feel like the next minute the world's transforming. It's the greatest thing ever. And it's really hard to kind of put one foot in front of the other. And in these times, I really reflect on, like, well, what brought me success in Hedera or in technology? And a lot of times it's just about getting back to basics, just putting one foot in front of the other. And I think what that looks like for me in Hedera is taking a look back at the top, because we talk a lot about, and have talked a lot on this show with some good friends, about the issues at the top of the ecosystem, the issues with leaders, the problems with resource allocation, and what's being done about it. Are there any signals of change? And so for me, I took a moment and I watched some clips that I think really held some strong signals for me in regards to how this energy is being received by those folks at the top, right? When I say the top, I mean like the executives at Swirls Labs and the board, the executives and the governing council and the board at Hedera and at the foundation, like all these different types of things. Like, what is the impact here? And I think we're starting to see some signals. And we shared some clips of Rob Allen last week, really indicating that these next 6 months are going to be crucial. This next year is going to be incredibly important. And my attention automatically turns to shakeups in leadership. And a key shakeup in leadership very recently has been the appointment of Eric Piscini to the CEO of Swirls Labs. And Swirls Labs is a very important entity because it's a pretty sizable company, and it's charged with the development of the Hedera network, of the Hashgraph. And that, I think, is a source of signal for what could be coming. And I want to play a couple clips now that I think indicate some stuff. And Eric is in all these clips, but I want to just kind of play some of these. So the first one is an interview that Eric did at, I guess, a conference for NASDAQ. Hedera's had a little bit of exposure at NASDAQ recently, which has been great to see. But here's Eric in an interview. This is just a clip, and he touches on a new use case, this Hyundai supply chain use case. He's done this a few times, but it does feel like some stuff's happening with Hyundai. So check this out.
And sustainability, what's exciting in that space there?
Oh, I mean, that is one that I really love, which is what we did for Hyundai and Kia, the car makers. We are tracking a carbon footprint of every car that's leaving their supply chain. So when you buy a car, you can know the carbon footprint of that car because it's been registered along the way with 26 different suppliers, and you can offset that carbon footprint by buying carbon credits. So if you're an organization committing to sustainability, you can actually buy carbon credit to offset your footprint. And you can do that in a trusted way because that information is captured.
Right. So, kind of similar to what we were talking about with DOVU with their use case and sequestering carbon and switching over those internal combustion engines to EVs in India. It's like what he's talking about here is something that we've, mentioned on the show a few times is Hyundai is leveraging Hedera and Hashgraph to, through their supply chain, track a bunch of these widgets through the supply chain and all these cars and stuff. And I do think it was a few folks at the HBAR Foundation that kind of helped bring Hyundai into the ecosystem, but that seems like it's an exciting use case. And there also has been previous interviews that Eric has done, one most notably with the HBAR Bull, where he talks about the impact that it could potentially have on transactions. And he says, like, if you really think about the amount of parts that move through a supply chain for a car at Hyundai, that, and if those events are logged to the Hashgraph, that's going to be a lot of transactions. And immediately my brain goes, well, is this going to be a subsidized use case, right? Is this going to be like Atma.io? We don't know. That rhymes and that was fantastic. But that's kind of where my brain goes with that. And Eric's been talking about this use case quite a bit. And of course, naturally, people kind of go, well, is Hyundai going to be a governing council member? It would be good to have a car manufacturer on the governing council. And that's also very, very interesting. So it definitely gets your brain going. Another clip of Eric and alongside other leaders from other networks, including like VeChain, he talks about DREC, and DREC is another incredibly important aspect that we've talked about on the show quite a bit. But decentralized recovery, DREC, is, and I think the website now kind of shows all of the members of DREC. If I can pull it up here. Are these folks on here? Yeah, here we go. So check this out. So quick refresher on DREC. DREC is decentralized recovery. It's the solution for getting your keys, right? It's a novel technology that uses Shamir secret sharing, which splits up your private key into all different pieces, or your secret. It doesn't have to be your private key. It could be a recipe. It could be a password. It could be an image. It could be whatever secret you have. Splits it up into all sorts of different pieces amongst what's called helpers. So people that have a device that has a piece of your secret on it. And if you lose your secret, you can retrieve it by going in person to those different helpers and getting your pieces of your secret back. And the key piece with DREC that's the like special sauce is it has the capability as a protocol to constantly check to make sure that those helpers are still active. If one disappears, it can redistribute the pieces of your secret. So it is a breakthrough in that sense. And it's this perfect combination of tried and true old technology and a new kind of like secret sauce, very similar to Hashgraph. And it's really cool because it doesn't require Hedera. It doesn't require Hashgraph. This is a standalone thing. So that's what's really attracted members of the DREC Alliance, which includes Algorand, Ripple, Swirlds, XRPL, and a bunch of other members, Constellation, Casper, right? So all these networks are kind of coming together, and there's more to come. And we're starting to see something happen here where we're going, okay, this maybe isn't related to Hedera, but the inventors of the Hashgraph algorithm, right? The founders of Hedera are at the center in Swirlds Labs of what appears to be a global initiative that could shape the future of crypto. Because imagine if we still had the custody, the ability to custody your assets using your private key, but we removed the risk of losing your private key. Imagine the impact that would have on the industry. And that's built and supported, and it's coming together. So in my mind, I would say one of the most important projects for Hedera that's being built right now doesn't really leverage Hedera. I see this as a great, there's a very popular strategy in the technology industry called product-led growth. This is great product-led growth. This is great marketing. This is delivering a product to the market, having people come around it and leverage it and giving that value. And probably those people kind of going, well, what other cool stuff have you guys built? What other useful things have you guys created? So it puts Hedera in the center of a really important conversation. And on that, I want to play this clip from Eric Piscini that was speaking at Proof of Talk. And this interaction and breadcrumb here was very, very cool. So let's check this out.
So decentralized recovery is a mechanism that Dr. Leemon Baird from Hedera invented to be able to still own your private key on your wallet, but share a portion of that private key with your friends, and your friends could be organizations or real people. And if you lose your phone, you buy a new phone, you enter your password, and they help you recover your private key back into your phone. They cannot do it if they get together. They have to have you as part of the process. And it's very elegant technology, and we have implemented now that technology in different wallets. So that helps with the the challenge of managing your own keys. And Algorand is working with us, and Ripple now is working with us, and other projects that we cannot talk about are coming. Maybe Sunny, you will be joining soon.
I was about to ask, can we join?
Yeah, of course.
So that interaction was great for a few reasons. One is it's clear that, DREC is reaching a level of maturity where it's, going to be put out into the marketplace. But furthermore, the CEO of Swirlds Labs, Eric Piscini, signals that there is another partner or network coming to the DREC Alliance that they can't talk about yet. And I've heard similar things behind the scenes, and I don't know who that network is going to be. I believe it's an L1, and hopefully it's a high profile one. That would be incredible. So that's really interesting to see unfold. And you're starting to see kind of where DREC comes into the puzzle. Is initially, I think people were kind of like, oh, this isn't a Hedera thing, but we're starting to see now, oh, okay. People are coming into the Hedera world through DREC. So this is just a great initiative, I think, on all fronts. And to be honest, this is really what it's about. It's about exporting goods to the industry to improve everybody, right? Rising tide raises all ships, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you can deliver that value, it gets people interested in what you're doing. And it's good to see. Now, I want to play one more clip. This clip is from Genfinity, and we've had King Solomon from Genfinity on the show quite a few times. Always a pleasure, and he's been a huge support of the show. Ryan's been a huge support of the show. But Genfinity Ryan did an interview with Mance, Harmon, Leemon, Baird, right, co-founders of Hedera and at Swirlds Labs, and again, Eric Piscini, who is the CEO of Swirlds Labs. He had all three of those guys at, I believe, Consensus, sat them down, and I'd encourage people to go check out the full interview. It's fantastic. It's great for anybody. Like, if it's the first video I'd show somebody if they were kind of like coming out of a coma this year and they were like, what's going on with Hedera? It's like, well, watch this video for the folks at the top and the founders to kind of get their temperature on stuff. And then, watch a couple episodes of my show and Genfinity. But I think that this clip right here in particular, there's so many things in here that interest me, that kind of get my brain going. And let's watch, and then we'll have a quick chat about it. But let's check this out. This is Genfinity interviewing Mance, Harmon, Leemon, Baird, and Eric Piscini.
That we're now beginning to turn the page from, I'm just going to loosely use this term. We've got a new CMO, and I have not cleared this through Sarah. But I think of it as sort of Hedera 1.0, going from 2017 to where we are to now. And we're in the process of turning the page from that first version of Hedera into the next version of Hedera with a new set of leadership, a renewed focus on accomplishing some narrow, important goals, and maturing governance, maturing the platform. And, I'm excited to see where we're going to be on January 31st of this year. I knew on January 1st of this past year that it was going to be very different. That's clearly going to be the case. We've seen some major changes already.
Now, I just want to pause it there real quick. And again, this video was recorded before the before the craziness of controversy and all these different things over the last few weeks. This was kind of, I think, like in a little bit before that. And I'm referring to, the bombshells around like the foundation and this and that or whatever. We've covered those on the show. But what Mance says there is a clear indication from his words, there, big changes in leadership and big changes in the direction and the self-identity of the network, right? He talks about Hedera 1.0 and then Hedera 2.0. Rob Allen mentioned this, right? We played a clip from Rob Allen on the HBAR Bull show. Rob Allen clearly articulates this as well. He said Mance was referring to this as being this switchover from Hedera 1.0 to Hedera 2.0. So from Mance's words there, it's very clear that there are substantial changes happening at the top. and they were happening. I would say that they've been happening for quite a while. As soon as I saw last year in the summer, the committee instated by the governing council to search for a new president for Hedera, and then they brought on Charles Atkins. That to me was the first sign of a big shakeup, and especially with Charles's resume and approach. So what I would say is, and this is what I've been saying to people, is a year is a really reasonable time, I think, for fresh leadership to come in, assess, understand problems, and outline a fresh strategy. A year is a very reasonable time frame to do that. And we're kind of approaching the year mark now. And it does feel like that has been the goal that was set out with that original search committee till now. And I think that along the way, what the community has uncovered and discussed and, fought over, whatever it might be, I think that again reinforces and provides that kind of confluence for what's happening right now. And it emerges in Mance's words of, not only are there changes, not only is there a sense of renewed, whatever it might be, it's literally, he articulated as Hedera 1.0, Hedera 2.0. For whatever that's worth, I take that as a big signal from the top. So let's continue on here.
It's going to be cool to see where we are December 31st.
I had the opportunity to interview Sarah a little bit earlier. She did fantastic. And talk about a resume. I mean, Finastra and R3, that's awesome. Eric, vision for the network.
I think to me, what's important is to make the network and the Hedera ecosystem super easy to consume, right? So if you want to build something, if you're a developer, an organization, a startup, an individual, we want to give you all the tools, all the capabilities that you need to build in a matter of weeks, a new business model, a new application, a new company. That's really the vision to me, right? Because I've been in this industry for 10 years, and I keep pushing for everybody to do better, do faster, but also do easier to consume. And that, to me, that's the vision.
Also, too, like, just say the word retail. That's the big thing here is, like, it's very clear that that's what makes the money for Hedera. That's what drives adoption for Hedera. That's where the action's at, is retail. And, we look at the Solana Blink stuff, and we look at all these other things, and it's like retail. It's like, just say the word retail. But anyways, I digress. Let's continue on.
Yeah, and I mean, I think certainly when you think about streamlining the usability of the network and just the seamlessness of it over time, I mean, we're headed towards a future where everybody's going to be empowered, and you don't have to necessarily go the VC route or be a tech startup to be able to build on chain or build on the Hashgraph. I mean, and that's going to be really.
Also, too, maybe it's maybe what I said isn't quite fair. Like, to be clear, like, Swirlds Labs isn't really charged with, like, growing the network. Like, Swirlds Labs is charged with, like, developing the network, but there is the marketing arm of Swirlds Labs that is supposed to be tackling that. So yeah, it's one of those things where maybe it's not the CMO or the marketing people there, but, like, we got to start working in the word retail into, the conversation here. We have to start using that word. There's no way around it. That signal has to be sent. But anyways, again, I digress. Continue, Leemon.
Really cool to see. And then Leemon, vision for the network.
Yeah. So you asked about 2024 in the future.
Yes, sir.
So 2024 has been amazingly exciting. We have seen enormous amounts of real world assets and real funds and real things being tokenized on Hedera already, not promises for the future, actually happening. We are seeing enormous adoption and people building new things being built on top of us. This is exciting. And the year's not even half over yet. I can't believe. I would be satisfied if this were the end of the year and I said what happened in 2024. We aren't even half.
That also, too, like, I love Leemon, but, like, I'm sorry, but to say if the year were to be over now and you'd be happy with what's happened, like, that's nuts. Like, there's so much to be done with Hedera. Like, and again, to be fair, like, Hedera is just doing incredible in so many key areas. It's amazing. But again, retail, what's actually paying the bills, what's actually growing the brand, is, like, there's so much work to be done. So I wholeheartedly disagree with Leemon on that front. To say that we'd be happy if all that were to happen this year is what's happened now, like, I don't know what I would do. I'd be like crushed. Like, this hasn't been like a dynamite year so far in a few different regards. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Hedera is doing fantastic, and I'm arguably more bullish than ever on Hedera because we're aware of so much. It does feel like people are getting on the same page. There is change. There is energy. But to say that, like, it's like this is all we need. Great. 2025. Let's go. It's like, no, dude, that's nuts. But anyways,
We're done with the year yet. And then you talk about the future. This is a 100-year project, 100-year plus. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it on a path where it's going to become, ledgers in general, but Hedera specifically, is going to become part of every part of the planet. Every part of business and education and social and governance and entertainment, every part of it is going to be using this for part of it. And half the time, it's going to be invisible. The person won't even know they're doing it. Like electricity, you don't think about the electricity going to these lights. It's just part of your life. That is the future.
so, sick, right? I love that. But again, the reality is that Hedera is still kind of, hovering in the 30s or 20s or whatever it is, on CoinMarketCap and stuff. Like, again, I think it speaks to that disconnect, right? Of, I don't think we're kind of on the same page when it comes to the community swirls, these executives, the big wigs and stuff. Is, it seems that we don't have all the information they do. And it seems that from their view that everything's dope. Everything's amazing. Everything's going to be so sick. Everything we've accomplished so far, if that's all we've accomplished, I'd be happy with this year. Well, maybe from what they understand or they know, maybe there's something massive coming that we don't know about. Maybe they're like, oh my God, wait till they find out that Microsoft and Apple are joining the governing council and Apple's doing Apple payments on Hedera and we just signed the deal and it's so incredible. It's like, maybe they just know a bunch of stuff we don't know about. I have no clue. But, I think that it kind of does speak to that disconnect of, like, it's just what Leemon is saying is like not what people are feeling at all. I think that when I say we, the people that, use the network, definitely feel like an uphill battle is in front of us. We're definitely in a valley, not a peak. So I would just say that let's reflect on that clip a little bit and kind of go, whoa. Either let's kind of take a seat at the table here and kind of get on the same page, or, tell us the alpha. Why are you so excited? Because I think the community's kind of over here like, this is great, but I don't feel it. It's like it's electricity and 100-year company and all these types of things. I think that that's great. And I think that, it's a good message to put out there, but I do think that it kind of discounts the reality, which is there's a lot of battles ahead for the people that are using the network and trying to grow businesses on it. It's not easy. I don't think, and again, I want to be fair, I don't think that the situation is like they're tone deaf or that they don't understand that necessarily, or that they're like so out of touch or whatever. I think that they have a line to toe. They have a message to get out there. But I do think that kind of like, I wanted to illustrate that contrast of just that point from Leemon in particular of like, no, the last 6 months is not enough. We need more. And we are behind in a few different ways. And there's a lot of missteps. But again, that's why I'm bullish. That's why I'm so excited about Hedera right now, is because the information is flowing a lot more. It does feel like as a community we're on the same page. And it's like I've said a few times, I'm a strong believer in crypto that if done right, those that use the network will come to control it. Right? So I do think that the community right now has more power and control than they understand. It's unfortunate to see like the community fighting with each other sometimes, because I think that kind of is a little counterproductive. But in the big scheme of things, I think that the community has a lot more power than they understand. We got a few comments here from Milton. Shout out Milton for joining. I'll read the comments here. Retail adoption is essential if the network is to succeed, we need to trap liquidity the same way Ethereum and Solana have via DeFi, TVL, memes, centralized finance, on-ramps, trading pairs, etc. Preach. A higher HBAR price is also essential for network security. We're still in unstable waters with low retail adoption and high incoming dilution. And what Milton's saying here is that the threat to the network is if someone were to accumulate a third of all the HBAR, they'd be able to control the network, right? Like, so if HBAR is very, very cheap, it's easier to do that. If HBAR is more expensive, it's hard to do that. So it like one of the key security mechanisms for Hedera is the price of HBAR. If the price of HBAR, the higher the price of HBAR is, the more secure the network is, right? That's just a fact. Continues, network transactions will never do much to push prices upwards when every transaction is natively priced in USD and in real time. We need traps liquidity. So again, what he's talking about is how do we get the millions and billions of dollars on other networks over to Hedera, right? That's how Solana grew. That's how Sui grew. That's how Ethereum grew. That's how all these networks grew. That's the playbook. And the good news is that Hedera is like doing a dynamite job with enterprise. I think that, we know enterprise moves slow, but what do we do in the meantime? Well, we have to put new focus on retail. We got to start saying the word retail. We have to start identifying the Hedera brand with retail. And I think that those are the things that then just make Leemon's vision realistic. But again, I don't want to like, harp on Leemon or anything like that. I'm just respectively disagreeing with his outlook in that video. Just being realistic here. And I mean, I met Leemon. I mean, Leemon's just an incredible guy. And I think one of the best folks in crypto. I think that the industry would be much worse off if it wasn't for Leemon, clearly. So massive respect to Leemon. So with all due respect, but I do think that going back to on that video, overall, I think I feel pretty good, especially from what Mance said about really Hedera articulating the need to, push from the like 1.0 to 2.0. And as we talked about on the show, just get realistic. It's like, guys, this isn't like a giant thing. Like Hedera is not this giant behemoth, right? It's maybe a top 30 asset, and it's a couple $2 billion maybe, and it's in beta. It's not even out of beta, and there's not a lot of users, and there's not a lot of enterprise users. The enterprise activity is just not really there right now. Like, not a lot of the governing council members use it. They don't buy HBAR. But on the flip side, this ecosystem has just got so much energy in it. We got borrowing and lending coming. We've got DeFi. We've got NFTs. We've got startups and companies that have been around for years that are thriving. They're raising millions of dollars. The community's coming together. Like, it's just, what's happening over here is just like absolutely incredible. Like, let's put some more energy behind that. Let's stop talking about what's really been played out with these logos. Like, all these logos behind these guys. It's like, these guys are not buying HBAR. LCE, Mangaloo, Mondelez, Nomura, ServiceNow, like, they're not buying HBAR. We are. So anyways, that's the vibe there. I don't want to, Leemon, please don't send me an angry message on LinkedIn or whatever, but respectfully disagree on that point. But agree. And I'm amped on 99% of the other stuff that you say. I still watch the Harvard talk before bed some nights. Just my opinion, says Loafer.hbar. Well, what's your opinion? Or maybe just my opinion. It's just opinions. It's just opinions, guys. What else is going on? Before we wrap up the show, just wanted to mention I will be attending, if anyone's in Toronto this August, I will be attending the 6th annual Blockchain Futurist Conference, August 13th to 14th, Toronto, Canada. Just a short train ride away from me. Do people want the Grelf or Warlock to pop in? I mean, dude, I've been getting like some requests to do that. Like, if you want to stop by for a quick chatterino here, pop by. You know the link, brother. Call in. Maybe we can catch up real quick before I wind down the show. Let's see if Grelf or Warlock. Who knows what the hell we're gonna get. But yeah, so I'll be in Toronto, August, with HGraph, and we will be checking it out. There will be a bunch of other people there too, which will be exciting. I don't know if I can announce, but which one? Who do we want to stop by? I think people have been asking for Grelf. So, I mean, if Grelf is available, I mean, if you can give him a quick call, Warlock, and just see if Grelf's available. I mean, we can kind of catch up with what's going on with Grelf. So, I mean, if Grelf's around, if he's awake or whatever, feel free to stop by. But yeah, I'll be going. And it looks like too, Hedera is like doing a sponsor for it as well. So I don't know if their team's going to be there, but they're kind of helping out with that stuff. So, I'll be there. So if anyone's going to be in Toronto, hit me up, hit your boy up, and we'll chat about some stuff. We'll meet up and we'll do some cool stuff. I don't know. Also too, later tonight, wherever you are, Wednesday, today, 7 p.m. Eastern, I will be on the Hedera community call live stream. I'll be talking about HIP 920, which is the music metadata standards for Hedera. I'll be doing a whole presentation on it. So tune into that today, June 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern on X and YouTube. I will be talking about some stuff also too, like there's going to be some other folks there, like Cantor is going to be there, Lime Chain will be there. It'll be a little bit nerdy, but it'll be good. Tune into that. It'll be great. And also too, just while I think, fantastic. I think someone's going to go get Grelf, so we can chat with Grelf real quick. Oh wow. Good day to you, sir. How are you doing? Oh, I don't know if I can hear you. I don't hear a mic signal. Hold on. I hope it's not my end. Wait, can everyone hear Grelf? Leave a comment if you can hear Grelf. This is a test.
Oh, what about now, baby?
Yeah, there we go. There we go, my man. How's it going?
It's going so good. It's going great. The details about how it's going, I could talk for hours about it without saying anything, which is convenient because it's the end of your show, and I think that having no content towards the end of the show is really what you want. But it's been an interesting week. We're in the middle of the week. Mm-hmm. And I've been seeing a lot of people, excited about the soup.
There has been a lot of people have been excited about the soup. I talked about soup with Warlock recently, and maybe we can get your quick insights on. Maybe I think that it really grabbed the imagination of people, like that concept. Reaching into the soup, grabbing the potato. How did that resonate with you? And like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's common practice when making a soup. A hot, boiling, sometimes liquid. To put your big old hand in there up to your forearm. I love soup. I love potatoes, which are often in soup, because potato skin looks very similar to my skin. And, I sense a bit of camaraderie there between me and the potato in general. We both love to help support the Irish people. We both have eyes. We're both brown. And we both are often found covered in dirt.
There are a few similarities. And I think that when we kind of dive into the soup a little further, one thing that kind of pops to mind for me is a core concept of soup is it's not just a potato. And I think this is maybe where we didn't really go fully into the metaphor. There are other things in soup. And I think this is where it really ties into Hedera and the broader ecosystem in Web3. If we look at this industry as a soup, you might have carrots, you might have celery, maybe you have some inedible objects that fell into the pot. Who knows? But it's not. I think what we're talking about is not just grabbing the potato. It's about grabbing the other vegetables too. Maybe there's meat in there as well. The broth.
And add some stuff in, you know. You got this soup. You want to be part of the soup. You know, add your favorite thing. What's great about soup is there's not really a way to do it wrong. However you want to make the soup is how you make the soup. It's just like, well, I like this. Let's put that in there. I like that. Let's put that in there. But don't put too much salt. That can ruin the soup. You know, I know people are taking real cooking advice from me. So, you know, just be careful. But
this is not, just to be clear, this is not soup advice.
This is not culinary advice we're giving out here. So do not take it. But yeah, Hedera ecosystems are a lot like a big old beautiful soup. You can put your favorite stuff in, and you know, maybe if you see something that maybe you don't like in there, you don't have to scream. Maybe just take it out of the soup and put it on the plate.
I dig that. And I think also too, what we're touching on is, and I think I want to kind of, as Mance would say, double click on this, but when we're thinking about soup, you're saying that sometimes it's better to err on the side of not too much caution. Just throw some stuff in there. You can make mistakes, all those kinds of things. And what you're more so saying is maybe the issue here, if we look at this soup, Hedera has taken a much more conservative approach. They've been nervous to put in some of the stuff into the soup. They've been nervous of how it's going to react. And we're currently left with just a potato soup. And it's not very flavorful yet. They say there's more potatoes coming, but I think the community wants more stuff. And it sounds like Hedera is hesitant to just start throwing some of this stuff in that people want because they're worried they're going to get in trouble. They're worried maybe the taste will get bad. But what you're saying is with this soup, with this ecosystem, you're saying Hedera really just needs to start throwing some stuff in and not being too afraid of what the result is.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a soup is not made just with potatoes, and if you only have your little potato soup, you're gonna get bored of it pretty quickly. Enterprise is a nice big old potato. We love that potato. You know, we'll put that potato under our pillow at night. But we need some other stuff. Web3 is not just enterprise. We've tried to have an enterprise focus, and not to say that we need to stop. But there is the ability and the bandwidth to do more with our ecosystem, because there's a lot of different weird bits and bops and parts that make up a wacky, weird, wonderful world of Web3.
That is true. And also it sounds like where the ecosystem is at is it's kind of like we're having a soup party and we want to invite people over. But the problem is that people kind of open the door, they take a whiff. They're like, this is just some potato soup. I'm maybe not a huge fan of potatoes. What else is going on? And we just don't have enough stuff going on in that soup. We don't have that party of flavors. It's hard to get people over to the soup party. And, you know, I think that that's kind of what we're all feeling right now.
Yeah. And what's worse is some people are trying to make separate soups. Nobody wants a little mini soup. We need to bring all our soups together. You know, I'm glad that Lofier is you know, he's getting on with the soup talk. You know, this is important stuff. I will say, I believe that's how that's pronounced. I am working on upgrading my webcam. A lot of you may have realized that, you know, that the way I appear on this webcam is not how I actually look in real life, believe it or not. You know, I'm kind of, my webcam is stuck in low poly mode. I think it's like PS2 level graphics, and we're working on getting it up to at least Xbox 360.
Oh,
yeah. So that'll be fun when that happens. We're working on that. You know, maybe not a extremely optimized Xbox 360 game, but I feel like eventually we'll get to that PS4 and the PS5 level. If people didn't know, I love them Vibio games. You know, I go on the Warlock's computer and play them all the time, and then he finds me, and well, He's not happy about it. But, somebody's got to, play that Steam library. He's got a bunch of games he bought, but he never plays. I don't understand that.
And really quick, back onto soup, something that just came to mind is there might be some soups out there with no potato. And sometimes I think that a soup that doesn't have any potato can also be a bit of a challenge. Potato fills you up, potato sustains you. So I do think that it's about that balance. And I think if we do look at enterprise as a potato, and we look at the coin market cap rankings as the best soup, I think that it's going to be the exciting pizzazz, the carrots, the peas, the celery, the chicken, the whatever it is that gets us to that top 5 of the best soup on coin market cap. But I do think might be the potato that helps keep us there. I think that's the challenge, is what's that balance? And I think that how we get there is to what you said, is Hedera needs to just, throw caution to the wind and don't worry about getting in trouble for what they're putting in the soup, and just start throwing some stuff in there. People are getting ready.
You bring up a good point, which is something that we should clarify. A lot of people think that when we say pivot to retail, we mean like just only focus on retail. We don't want to become Solana. It's okay to look at Solana and see what they've done successfully and try to adapt it for us. That's what you do in business with your competitors. We're not saying abandon enterprise. That's never been part of, this, mini movement we're having. We're not saying throw the potato in the trash. I like potatoes. I look like a potato. It's great. And we've got a lot of people we don't want to lose who really care about enterprise. And that's a good thing. That's what has been working for us, is that we have so many dedicated, smart people who are really into the enterprise angle. And that's what got you here. We're just looking to add some hot sauce in that soup. Mm-hmm. We're already top 30, right? And we've done pretty much no marketing, and we've pretty much not targeted at all the masses, right, that are actively engaging with cryptocurrency networks and doing what, people are actually doing on them now, which is retail activities. I think it's weird when people who are retail criticize retail and say, I don't care about retail. That's you, buddy. That's you. You're my spicy little hot sauce, buddy. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's the Sriracha soldiers out there in the HBAR bearing community. And I think that for me, to be honest, Grelf, the last time I had you on the show, we talked about reaching into the soup, grabbing that potato. And I got an onslaught of direct messages, very concerned of like, are you guys talking about taking that potato out of the soup and throwing it away? Like, are you talking about abandoning enterprise? And I want to be clear that what we're talking about is taking that potato, grabbing the potato, embracing it, but putting it back in the soup, releasing it back into the soup. We don't want to remove the potato from the soup at all. That's not what it's about. It's about keeping the potato in there and just adding more ingredients. We're not talking about removing the potato from the soup, just to make it clear.
Right. Grabbing the potato, it's a very common phrase, and it just means getting involved, staying active and engaged in your community and your ecosystem, because, being out there, being seen, and having some respectful conversations that people can, view and engage with themselves is the best way to enact change, especially when we're in a space that is so heavily built upon communication.
Absolutely. For me, I think after this episode, you coming by and kind of chatting on this, I think this was really needed to really get to the bottom of this. Because for me, I'm starting to see some stuff go into this soup. It's starting to smell a little bit better. I think people are starting to poke their heads and kind of be like, hey, this is maybe the next soup party I want to check out. I think we just got to keep doing that. So that's incredibly exciting. And I want to say also too, congratulations to having Grelf listed on that centralized exchange. Is that really quick? We were talking about on the show today the importance of the accessibility of these assets across those different things. How's the project going? That's incredibly exciting to see.
So it's not available for trading yet. Just to clarify, okay. They said it's coming soon. It's probably going to get listed for trading sometime in July. I don't have a specific date, and that's mostly because this is the first HTS asset that Coinstore, the centralized exchange, is integrating, right? So, sometimes Hedera is different, right? They need some time to figure it out. They've got everything built for, EVM compatible chains, which Hedera is, but there's also some stuff that they are, learning about for the first time. What's exciting about this is not, oh, wow, I'm the first meme coin to get on a centralized exchange. That's great, whatever. But, it's a pretty cost-effective exchange. So after I'm integrated, it should be fairly easy for a lot of, maybe not mega huge HTS projects to get integrated there as well. And I'm using it as kind of a stepping stone, right? We want Grelf to be healthy and successful before you get on a centralized exchange, because there's lots of liquidity requirements, and sometimes you have to give them a share of token supply, and everybody freaks out about the whole market making thing every time an exchange goes live, and they're like, they're selling, because, when there's a volatile moment, they typically sell against it to keep the volatility down, which people don't really understand. Anyway, all that to say is good.
I love that. And you bring up something important. And I think this is important for projects in Hedera to keep in mind as well, and I think this really hits at the core of things that we can focus on, is it's not just about putting exciting stuff in your own soup. It's also about bringing those ingredients to other soup parties and contributing. And that's kind of what you're talking about, is what can we do for other ecosystems? What can we do for other soups and not just our soup? Because I think if you help other ecosystems with their soup, they're more inclined to come over and help you with your soup. That's what we refer to in the industry as soup interoperability and cross-chain, cross-soup growth. And I think that's a big aspect we didn't get to touch on last time, which is not just contributing to your own soup, but contributing to the soups of other soups out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of little guys out there trying to have their own small soup party. But if we want to beat down and completely destroy Campbell's, which has always been the goal, then we have to work together to form a new conglomerate that can just completely erase Campbell's from the face of the earth.
I love that. I think that's a positive message. And I think that to any soup enthusiasts out there, really kind of reframe your thinking. Remember that it's not about taking the potato out of the soup. It's about rebalancing the potato to other ingredient ratio. It's about getting an exciting soup. The soup isn't always going to taste the best, but it's about moving forward, evolving, meeting the tastes of other soup enthusiasts, but also contributing to the other soups in the global soup ecosystem of all these different soup parties happening. And that's really, I think, what this is all about. So really appreciate you coming by, Gerbert. I think that for me, that really kind of nails it home for me in that regard. And I think alleviates a lot of the fears of people worried that we're talking about taking the potato out of the soup. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, we just want to engage that potato so that it's more appealing.
Yes. That absolutely. So, and lots of folks are leaving comments that also too, it's about all the different spoons and utensils and devices that we have to consume the soup, right? There's so many great wallets out there. There's so many great dApps out there. I had a great experience doing the PixFi mint on the show just because I didn't have any time to do it beforehand. So I think that it's also about understanding we've got a bunch of different ways to consume the soup, because I think when we all enjoy the soup, when we eat the soup, that I think is when the magic happens. That is what Leemon is talking about. Leemon says you're going to have the soup in your belly and you're not even going to realize it. And so I think that is the key to mass adoption. That's the key to spreading the wealth, spreading the soup, is just realizing that all of these pieces have to work together. We have to go beyond the potato, but still respect the potato.
Yeah. We want people to smell what we're cooking here on Hedera.
Dig it, dig it. Well, Gerbert, appreciate you very much for stopping by. Always a pleasure, and always a wealth of insights. And again, not soup advice. Always perform your due diligence, and always trust in your taste buds. So, cheers to you, Grelf. Really appreciate you.
Thanks. Love coming on as always.
Right on. Okay, so great way to end the show. And I don't think there was a better metaphor than soup. I think, to be honest, I really think that we got somewhere with that. I'm not going to lie. That was fantastic. But yeah, so make sure if you're going to be in Toronto, August, come to the thing, whatever. Tonight, tune into the Hedera community call. I'm talking about HIP 920 music metadata standards for Hedera and beyond. It's like a big convo. I'm very excited about it. HIP 920 was approved and it's locked and loaded. It's in there. So I'm super stoked. And also too, just a last quick thing. As folks know, I do work full-time in Web3 in the Hedera ecosystem. I work at Hgraph, a mirror node provider in Hedera, and we've got some very cool stuff coming. So if you're interested in any alpha or any stuff like that, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to share with folks. We got some really cool stuff coming. Basically, what we're focused on is understanding that, you know, one half of this network is about putting transactions in, but the other half that I think sometimes gets ignored is how you get stuff out. And that's a big need for people. People need to be empowered to understand what's happening on Hedera. How much money is the network making? Where is it going? What actually is going on? Being able to actually talk to Hedera, and also too for projects building that need that data to create wonderful experiences for people. What can we do to make that as easy as possible? You know, as affordable as possible. Make it really flexible. So, if you're interested in some Hgraph alpha, reach out to me. I'd be happy to share it with you. Shameless self-promotion there. But anyways, greatly appreciate everybody tuning in. We're trying to find the signal in the noise here. That's the theme of the show this week, is finding the signal in the noise. And I think that's what we're kind of doing a little bit as a community. I think that it's been a very noisy year so far. And I think that the key here is, most importantly, the community really coming together and understanding that we do want to go after Campbell's. We do want to go after the big guy. And we do need to understand how powerful we are. Thanks for the kind words, and everyone that's tuned in. It's awesome to see the conversations, and awesome to have guests call in. I've got some cool guests coming up on the show. But anyways, greatly appreciate everyone tuning in. Episode 131 in the can. Let's find the signal in the noise. Let's keep it going. Keep that soup cooking. Help other people out with their soup. And grab that potato, put it back in the soup. Don't take it out. Maybe add another potato. I don't care. Maybe we got a big potato to add. But with that, let's keep it real. Let's keep it going. Appreciate everybody. Hello, future. Goodbye, past.
Thanks for listening to the Hashgraph Enthusiast Show, hosted by Brandon Davenport.
Listen to past episodes and support the show at itsbrandond.com/HBAR.